Hello, everyone. It's Chris. On this episode of Banging My Head Against the Wall trying to learn Intune, I am going to bang my head against the wall and try to learn Intune. So I've been going at this for a couple videos, and I kind of decided that although the goal of these videos were to give you an unedited version of me learning this process, I realized that was unedited completely is a little bit unpalatable. Just because there's a lot of time lag between me deploying something and waiting for it to happen on the computer. Even with simple things like configuration profiles, which should be pretty instantaneous. So I'm going to be doing some editing here. My method for editing this to make it easy is I'm just going to be silent when I want something edited out or sped up or something like that, just to signify to me that we can cut that part out. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I might actually cut in some videos of the actual stuff being deployed to the computer, because right now I'm on my production computer and it's not the same as the computer I'm deploying the stuff to. So this might be my last video doing this too, because at some point I think if I'm going to do a realistic review, an honest review of this platform, I'm going to need some help from someone who actually has a bit more experience. So when I come and I say, hey, you can't even file vault encrypt a computer, which I am struggling to do, they'll come in and be like, hey, dummy, you're supposed to do it this way. This learning Intune has been a little bit more difficult than anticipated, definitely more difficult than a platform like Kanji. I don't think anyone would say that this platform is intuitive, especially when you're managing macOS devices. So it's a little bit of a struggle to figure out like where things are and how to do them. And when it's a little bit of a struggle to figure out how to do something and how to do something correctly, it's also difficult to know if you're running into issues because you did it incorrectly or if you're actually just running into an issue. So I do need to get someone in here eventually to show me how to do this. But I'm going to take one last crack at it, try to figure out as much as I can in this video to try to close the gap between my knowledge of Jamf Pro and my knowledge of Microsoft Intune. So to start off, I want to create some goals for this review. And essentially what I'm thinking of is try to replicate a lot of the stuff we do regularly inside of Jamf Pro. So, what are things that we do? I'm going to say macOS updates using MDM command. So we'll see if it has any capabilities of that. I'm just going to say macOS updates as a header, because the next one I want to do is macOS updates using Superman, which is a great little nifty script by Kevin White that we've been using for a lot of our clients. Also want to test out zero-touch provisioning. Now, as far as I know, Intune does not seem to have any type of onboarding windows, so I'm going to use dep notify. We have our dep notify script we created, so I'll use that. I may need to make some minor tweaks to it, probably just hard code stuff in the script since we were using parameters within Jamf Pro. So I can supplement that by simply hard coding those values into the script. Specifically, you can't just set up a dep notify script and say you have zero touch. You got to deploy some policies. So I'm just poking around on my other screen that you can't see inside of our Rocketman server that manages our computers. I just want to see what we have set up. Maybe try to mirror that. So I'm going to write all that stuff down. That's what we do there. Set computer name, script. We'll say Microsoft Defender. Might as well use the Microsoft Suite products as we're testing this. Obviously, I was using something more like Jamf Protect in our server, but click up. One password. Chrome. Google Drive. Zoom. I'll put in their app setup helper as well. A little tool we created to help us set up the computer. Okay. Also want to look at the Mac apps. It's not really part of zero-touch provisioning though. Mac app deployment. Yes, these ones are actually in the Mac App Store, so I'm going to remove them from here. No, I want to look at the App Store. Okay, never mind, these are not. Code Runner, Harvest, Amazing Profile Editor, Slack for desktop. I want to try some configuration profiles. The one I'm struggling with right now is one for File Vault. Let's try our break glass admin script. I'm going to deploy some manage preferences. Should be a good test. Yeah, I also want to deploy our temporary admin workflow. I think that'll be a good test, right? Temporary admin workflow. Since that uses a static group, although we would have to do an API call then for Microsoft Intune, which I don't know if I really want to rewrite that script in that way. We could just do the on-demand one instead of the one-time use, because that doesn't require that API call. Oh, break glass isn't going to work either because I got to store the password in there. So, but we can do temporary admin, manage preferences. So some stuff we won't be able to test of our scripts because they require API calls for Jamf Pro. And I want to go through and start to try to write these new API calls for Microsoft Intune. Somewhat out of the scope of this project. Think. I'll just say any necessary PPC profiles. unnecessary notifications. Can't spell anything. I think that's a pretty good list. In my other screen, I'm just going to go through our GitHub and just see if there's anything else that I think I can do. But probably not a whole lot. A lot of what we do uses the API. But speaking of, I don't want to like rewrite our scripts with the API because that's a lot of work, but I do want to play around with the API. I'm going to compare some of Jamf's most powerful features with Intune. So what are Jamf's most powerful features? We've got policies and scoping. We've got smart groups. We have extension attributes. That might be it for like the powerful things in Jamf Pro. I'm trying to think of back to the Kanji review and what we really saw were a lot of limitations because they didn't have stuff like this. Now Intune is built a lot more in this way, where you're not necessarily deploying a blueprint, you're deploying specific policies. And there's just a big difference between deploying a blueprint and deploying individual policies that can be scoped to anyone. So instead of having like a couple different workflows for different groups, which is much easier to manage, you have essentially, 100 or so objects that can each be scoped to whomever. Now you can scope all of them to all computers if you wanted to, or you could scope them to different departments, or you can do a crazy myriad of scoping for different things to accommodate different workflows. And I think that becomes just so much more powerful than what you can do if you're just limited to something like blueprints. But we'll take a closer look at that. I also want to say criteria. That was one thing that was much more limited within Kanji as well. A lot more criteria for Jamf Pro than Kanji. I also want to look at reporting. Because Jamf Pro has a lot we can do for reporting things. I want to see what Intune has for reporting your macOS devices. Okay, that was a very long intro to what we're looking to do today, but gives you a sense of what we're going to try to do. And I think some of this is like, I just need to start getting in and playing around with this. Okay, so where do I start here? Okay, let's start out with the macOS updates. Probably the thing that's gonna take the most weighting. So I want to see if we can do this through an MDM command. All right, so I have this here. Okay. We got a lot of things. Oh, other things I want to add to this list. Intune specific features. So what Intune specific features am I talking about? Well, I know they have, so when I was setting up the enrollment, there was something that looked kind of interesting. I forget what it's called. So let me go to devices, go to enrollment, Apple, enrollment types. I think it was here. Nope. We're going through this is very difficult. Profiles. Okay, you have to do the profile here. User affinity. That's what I want to check out. So I want to see what that is. I also want to show, this is a feature I've already played with, but oh, conditional access for sure. One feature I want to show is locking the Mac automatically. Definitely have heavy hammer, but kind of interesting how it works. For very security conscious organizations, I don't know, this might be it might be something they want to do, but it actually sends a remote lock to the computer, which can only be unlocked with a passcode. My computer just restarted here, so I might have accidentally already sent updates. I'm not sure. I will see. I know I had done some automatic updates here, but let me see here how we do manage software updates. So this is what I already did. So if I go to devices here, and I think I need to go update policies for Mac OS. Well, that's not a thing, but if I go here, update policies for Mac OS. Okay, there we go. So this is what I did. I did install immediately for all these. Show you what's available here. So now this does kind of look like it's being done through an MDM command. You can do during scheduled times, so you can choose a time zone. Can't choose the device's time zone, so just something to be aware of. But you can set the schedule. This would be similar to doing it through like a policy through Jam Pro. But I will note, as far as MDM commands go, we can't really do that through Jam Pro. So MDM commands can only be done through in Jam Pro on demand. So you have to do them at that time. Whereas this, you can actually set up a schedule, which is kind of cool. I think my computer is restarting and updating. I don't think this is a major update, but it's kind of hard to tell because, like, let's go back to this update policy. Description, update policy settings, scope. That's it. If this is the only way we can update, it's kind of interesting because I can't even focus on a specific version. So let's go ahead and just, while I'm waiting to see if this thing is updating, which I'm pretty sure it is now, test, critical updates, download and install, download only, install immediately, notify only, install later. Let's just do install later. Okay. And this is where I get some more options, but only if I do install later. And then I can set the max deferrals and the priority You can just do low or high. Okay. I'm back to my Mac computer. You can't see this right now, but I am seeing something that I'm going to take a picture of. Maybe a video, because there's an FD setup window. It's just a little bit interesting. I can drag, it's on the login screen, and I can drag it around. I have not gotten this to work yet. This is the first time I see it on the login screen. You click OK. I'm going to log in. It's very interesting that I can't target a specific version. Time zone. Now the interesting thing about Jamf's way of doing this kind of during scheduled time thing is they actually use the user's time zone, which I think is kind of the way to do it. Whereas this, you're actually setting a specific time zone, which we kind of want different things for different users. I digress. Jamf can even do this through the MDM commands, so you have to do it through a policy instead, and you would have to use something like a script, which something like Superman probably works better than this anyway. Now, my Mac just updated to the latest version of Sonoma, so that's kind of cool. I'm going to check to see if it's file vault encrypted too, because I know that was, I've been struggling to get that to work. And it is still not enabled. If I go to my device, I want to see, but it just keeps coming up as an error when I see this profile. And I go to my recovery key, it's not working. So I don't remember where I see the logs for this profile. It's probably under I do enrollment, Apple, nope. Nope. By platform, okay. I know before it was showing me if there's the error right there. View report. Check-in status error. Doesn't give me any more information about this, which is annoying. But that's what I've been seeing with that file vault profile. Call it test configuration, but yeah, just not working. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So now it's just recommending that I use the quote-unquote settings catalog if I want to specify more things like, I think, a specific version. So it's using configuration profiles to do that. Which maybe technically the Apple approved way. But let me take a look. So this is just pushing out those MDM commands. But if I go to devices, macOS, configuration profiles, new policy, I'll just call this one macOS updates. Okay. So devices, macOS, configuration profiles, create, new policy, setting catalog, restrictions. Okay. Okay. And now I can search for these ones. I think. Looks like I can't filter, but I can at least select them using find and replace. There's a lot of settings here. I'm aware of. We're through configuration profiles. And this is just the other one for you can create a configuration profiles, kind of just a glorified auto update, but it doesn't really work automatically. It's just like as if the user had turned on automatic updates on their Mac. It doesn't actually keep everything up to date. Okay, I'm going to select all these settings. No, that's not what I wanted to do. Shoot. That's really annoying. I have to remove this category now and then go back to restrictions. Do it all over again. Except I'm selecting the long ones. Okay, that's all of them. I think I can just click X here and they'll be saved, and they are. Okay. For software update delay, this is how many days before it allows it to happen. And then there's the one for major updates, minor update deferral delay, non-OS deferral delay, just for acts. This is just for enforcing it. So this doesn't mean anything unless you do this too. Okay. But this is just for delaying. So you cannot, with Intune, it seems like, target a specific version, which maybe isn't important. It's just going to install the latest version. And it seems like this is the way to do it. However, we could use something like Superman and target specific versions. So we have both set up and tested macOS updates using MDM command. Unfortunately, my computer just got updated to the latest version, so testing Superman will be a little bit harder, but I could at least set up the configuration. So. And this will help me see how it's going to be to deploy a script through Jamf Pro, because this is a script. Sorry, not through Jamf Pro, through Intune. All right, we will go to I'm going to delete this one. This one is just bringing up a text file that says hello. So we'll delete that. Okay. Now script, we're going to call this Superman. Oh yeah, this is an interesting thing. You can't put stuff in here, so we need to select a file. So wow. Wow, okay. I mean, I can just deploy it another way, but this is 600 kilobytes. So only 200 kilobytes the script can be. That's kind of funny. Okay. So I will need to package this. I'm not 100% sure how I'm supposed to do that because... Okay. So this is a pretty big script, I will admit, but 200 kilobits, because this has about 7,000 lines of code, 8,000. So, and it's 600 kilobits. So if you divide that by 4, that's like 2,000, I guess is the... Well, no, we're dividing it by 3 to get 200. So if you divide by 3, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of scripts that are out there that are that big that you won't be able to deploy through Jamf Pro. So you just have to deploy it through a configuration profile or through a package. I'm not sure how this works when it's not deployed through Jamf Pro, because what it ends up doing is creating its own launch daemon when it runs. I think if you deploy it through a package, it should still do that. So let me just package this up. So I'll use Composer. So in order to do this, I need to take this script and put it into some type of place on my computer. We're going to go I'm going to just choose to put it into Library Application Support, Rocket Man. So we're going to drag this in here. There we go. It should show here what this looks like, but it isn't. Oh. And what am I doing? I don't actually need it. I don't need any files in here. I'm just doing a post-install script. So let me quit Composer because it seems to be having issues. Great. Of course, when you're going to demo something, you notice that Composer is having issues and you can't really build this post-install script that you want to. You know what? I still can though, because Might throw the script there, but that's not going to be a problem. Post install. So might be another way to do this. I go to the releases. Here's the source code. See what it is. Okay, so this is just the. Oh, wait, no, that's not downloads. It's just kind of downloads everything, but it has this executable file, which I might need to look up how to do this. We're going to skip past this for now. I don't know how this is supposed to work because we just deploy this through Jamf Pro, and you can't do that here. But we have found out that there is a limitation to scripts, which is 2,000 bytes. For 40 lines for 1 kilobyte. So this is 200. 8,000 it should be, but of course this one is 8,000 lines and it's not. I'll just ask ChatGPT. Yeah, so it's saying approximately 4,000 lines, but it just depends. Just depends because it's how many. Obviously, a line of code can be 2 characters or it can be 100 characters or more. So, but yeah, that is a very weird limitation that I wasn't expecting. So, we won't be able to test that yet. Okay. I'm going to move on to the Mac app deployment because this should be fairly straightforward. So one thing I'm probably going to have to do is log into Apple Business Manager and assign some content to the server. There we go. So here's some apps I deployed. Let's see the Mac app types. So there's Microsoft 365 apps. We have Microsoft Edge, Microsoft Defender, which all makes sense, web application, and then other, which none of these is a Mac App Store app. Mac App Store app. From what I'm seeing here, it doesn't look like there's any way to deploy Mac App Store apps. This is not an App Store app. This can be pretty big if you can't do this. Because if you can't do it through your MDM, there's not really a way to do it. Let me try deploying content to this server. Oh, can I even set up, VPP integration. It has to be possible. Okay. Well, we're just gonna set up a new location here. I have to remember how to do that. Not what I want. We'll let that load for a little bit. Nope, that's not it. You can only download them here, so I need to go to locations. That's how I create a new one. Okay. Intune. official business address, which I always have to look up when I've memorized. Boulder, Colorado. Okay. So now I can go to payments and billing and download that. All right, select tenant administration. Connectors and tokens. Here, before we do this, I'm going to purchase some apps and put them in here. We got Code Runner. I'm not going to do that one because that actually costs money, but I'll do Harvest. Make sure I do Mac. All right, we got 3 of them. This one costs money, so I didn't want to do it yet. But, all right. Back to here. Connectors and tokens. And tokens. Apple VP token. Perfect. Just need to upload it. Required, which is always fun, even though it definitely shouldn't need to be. Sure. Not going to do any scope tags. Should be in my notes. Figure out the purpose of scope tags. Alright, so we got this in here. But now how do we deploy them? That's the real question. Because I don't know if you can. If you want to deploy Store app to Mac OS, you can try VPP using ABM or ASM. Okay, that doesn't answer how to do that. Wow, That's crazy. Okay, so no Mac apps or apps. Okay, why do I care? Let's look at the three we have. Right. We have Harvest, iMazing Profile Editor, Slack, and Code Runner. I can find all of those apart from the Mac App Store, right? Actually, every app I can find outside of the Mac App Store, except, and this is the key, any app that's an Apple app. Any Apple apps, I should say. Having trouble talking right now. So any Apple apps are not deployed through the Mac App Store. So that's Keynote, that's is only deployed through the App Store, through the Mac App Store. So this isn't nearly as important as on the iOS side because it's the only way you can deploy apps. No one really uses the Mac App Store exclusively besides Apple, which is very important if you want to use Keynote, if you want to use Numbers, if you want to use Pages, or any of the other Apple apps that don't come shipped with the OS. Most of them do, right? Or if you want to use any of their video apps, video editing apps that they have, like Aperture, Final Cut. You got that one that you can use that's like a Final Cut or a After Effects type competitor that I forget the name. All of those can only be deployed through the Mac App Store. So you can't deploy them, as far as I can tell. Now they said if you want to deploy Store app to Mac OS, you can try VPP using ABM or ASM. But that doesn't make a whole... Let me see the comments here. These first image. Okay, well, I could be wrong because now it looks like you can. All right, well, this is active. How do I deploy this? All right, let's see if there's anything here. I feel like anyone following this is just going to be like, what? Where are you? What are you even doing? I'm trying to deploy a Mac App Store app. And I don't think it's possible. But it's not clear whether or not it's possible. And that is more frustrating than it just being not possible at this point. I don't see it here. So someone please tell me if this is possible. Volume purchased iOS apps. It's documentation. So the title of this page is Volume Purchased iOS Apps. And then the subtitle is How to Manage iOS and macOS apps purchased through Apple Business Manager, Microsoft Intune. I'm just going to search Mac App Store. Maybe even the Mac app. There's nothing on this page. I'm calling it. You can't deploy Mac apps. Okay. And as far as I know, there's no other way to do it than to do it through an MDM. As much as they said in their documentation it's done through Apple, it is, but it needs to be initiated through an MDM. So if you are a graphic design agency, if you have developers, because they use something that can only be deployed through Apple called Xcode, probably those two pretty much exclusively. Anyone that uses Keynote numbers pages, any of those things, you really don't want to be using Intune. Now, you could have everyone set up their own personal Apple ID and then download it on their own. That's fine. But the thing is, if you have Apple Business Manager connected to your domain, the users can't create their own Apple IDs using their company email, which a lot of companies do. That's pretty much standard practice. So they would have to use their own personal Apple IDs to log into their work laptops, which is usually not best practice, especially if you want to protect your data and don't want people backing up all their stuff to iCloud. So, pretty big hole there that we're getting. So those are two things that I'm seeing kind of being a problems. The scripts are limited to 200,000 bytes and no Mac App Store apps, which is a pretty big deal. Okay, we're going down the list here, and we're going to try to figure some of this out. So I'm going to try to figure out my file vault profile that I was having problems with. I just think that would be a nice thing to figure out at this point. Now, I was going to use Composer to package stuff, but I don't feel like I should use any Jamf apps on my journey for evaluating Microsoft Intune. As far as I know, Microsoft Intune doesn't have a packager. We'll see what I do there. I don't know if I need to package too much, but you can. I don't think you can purchase standalone Composer anymore. There are other applications that can package, though. That shouldn't be a big roadblock. Honestly, I don't even think Composer is that great. It's a little legacy, but I mean, it works well for what it does. I use it because I know how to use it. It's able to sign stuff too pretty easy, so all that's great. Okay. I'm losing my train of thought here. We're trying to do this file vault profile, which is right here. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. I'm going to start from scratch here. I've been having problems with this profile. Perfect. Let me refresh this. This should go away. Beautiful. Well, let's see what this is. Endpoint security, disk encryption, create policy, file vault. Oh, okay. This looks more normal, but I'm used to doing this through a configuration profile. I don't really trust doing it this way, but it's the way it's recommending. So might as well test it out. This looks exactly like what I'm used to. Escrow location description. I don't understand this. Set the value to -1 to disable the setting. Well, that doesn't exist, so I'm guessing that's just a GUI error. Set the value to 0 to always prompt the user to enable File Vault, although they can ignore the prompt. Set the value from 1 to 10 to allow the user to bypass the prompt that many times until they are required to encrypt the device. Okay, so I want it set to 1 to force them to do it. That's what I'm going to try to do. Disable prompt at sign out. I wanted to do it at sign in, but at this point, I'm just going to see if this works because I haven't been able to get it to work. Scope tags, default assignments, all users, all devices. Great. I'm going to see if anything pops up on the screen, because that's what happened in the past before. I deployed the other profile. This does seem like it's the way to do it, but it's just weird, because normally I would do this through a configuration profile. Okay. We got File Vault. And I'll do these two later. Though I'd like to do some type of configuration profile, just test it out. Okay. Kind of curious by this too. So this I will have to fool around with. Mess around with this fireball thing. Enable. I'll just say yes. Make it simple. Endpoint privilege management. feel like this is all Microsoft Defender stuff. Okay, well, some of this stuff. Okay. Taking things off this list now. Would be great if they just showed me Mac OS, but platform, Windows 10 and later. Okay. Policies. That's Mac OS, yeah. So antivirus, I do want to research. Endpoint privilege management. Can't do that. Mac OS, perfect. Next. Group value. Okay, we'll just do not configured. Test. Scope tags. And does this do anything? All right, I'll have to come back to this. I don't know how this works. Just seems a little weird. Okay. Conditional access. Point security. Let's see if conditional access is available for macOS. Create your own policy. Okay, I need premium. Okay. I'm gonna test out restarting this computer and seeing if that allows me to, prompts me for file vault. Record the process. So it didn't prompt me when I logged out. We'll see if it prompts me when I log in. It did not. So, number one way of encrypting did not work. On the configuration settings page, oh, wait, no, I did all this stuff. Settings catalog policy through file vault. Okay. Let's do it based on its recommendations. Configuration profiles. Okay, devices, macOS, configuration profiles, create new policy, call this settings catalog. Let's look at these templates. Disk encrypt. Nope. All right, I'll have to look at these templates later. We'll just start from scratch. All right. Full disk encryption. To enable file vault, select configure. File vault, enable. Location. Looks like those are the only two that I need then. Enable on location test. All devices. Create. Maybe that all users thing is a problem. So maybe I'll just remove that from the scope because it might make it a like automatically user-based profile, which could be a problem, but that would also be a very interesting thing to just assume. All right, I need to change the scope. Assignments. Yeah, we will do remove all users. Okay. Love that it says no results, even though there clearly is a device enrolled and I deploy it to all devices. But okay. I'll test this once I have confirmed that this works, because this force enable in setup assistant I think can create issues. All right. Yeah, I mean, it's all about managing it and stuff. Now I want to do a screen lock as well, so let's do another profile. So in order to do a screen lock, there's two things I need to do for settings. One is, I'll just search for lock. Disable screen lock. Not what I want. Okay. So which payload is this under? It's under security and privacy and jam. Oh my gosh. Alright, let me just go through all these. App management, authentication. Disable screen lock. Yep. Also not what I want. Saver. Oh my gosh, there's so many of them. Manage settings. Yeah, well, luckily these ones have nothing to do with it. Preferences. Global. Nice. Privacy preferences, policy control. We got that. I'm not going to do that right now though. Restrictions. What I want as well. Passcode, security preferences, smart card, software update. This is the other thing we were looking at before. Screensaver. That's what I want. Oh, they're both under screensaver. I don't know what this one is. Kind of curious. Idle time. We'll say 1 minute. Just to see if this is module path to the screensaver. Module name. Okay, I have to apparently do this. I'm just gonna call it Sonoma. Can't even find a screensaver on these computers. All devices. There's another one for that, for the lock screen, but I don't know, I was searching and I didn't find much that was relevant. Okay, so where did I end up at? Oh yeah. System configuration. So I think that's a user setting. Wow, it's very confusing to figure out what's happening, even if you know how to use this stuff. just kept the screen on this computer, so whenever this gets deployed, because it's only 1 minute, the screensaver should start. Okay. Well, I've gone through a lot of these. I think if anyone's even listening to this at this point, because I'm sure this is painful, it's probably a great time to take a break and maybe come back later when we've gotten a chance to, well, we'll take the chance to jump into the rest of this zero touch stuff, which will probably be kind of the big thing with evaluating this platform. I'm not really sure how it will treat a bunch of policies getting deployed at once and trying to do like a provisioning window and even like a provisioning script, which is what we do through Jamf Pro. So, well, now we do the macOS onboarding, but what we used to do through Jamf Pro. So it'll be interesting to see. So far, impressions, I'm not super impressed from what it can do for macOS. Maybe if I get used to it a bit more, it'll be better. But man, I would, at this point, hands down, definitely keep using Jamf Pro. Would also prefer using Kanji over this platform at this point, because this is just so painful. But we'll see how we're able to do the zero-touch provisioning stuff. But based on what I see here, I don't really see anything that's kind of like a Jamf policy. So I don't know how to control the order of anything. But who knows? Maybe this policy set is the way you do it. Anyway, I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll be back.